Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council and felt his anger rising. He had been here 23 times before. Each time, he brought evidence. Each time, the Council ignored him. The chamber was enormous. Delegates from 847 different species sat in curved rows that reached up toward the glass dome overhead. Some were tall and thin, others were short and round. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others wore special suits filled with methane or ammonia. But they all had one thing in common. They looked at humans like children who didn't understand how the galaxy worked. Ambassador Lauren Wells stood beside Morrison. She was younger than him by 15 years, but her face looked tired. Too many diplomatic failures had worn her down. She held a datapad that showed the evidence they had collected. Images of weapons, recordings of transmissions, proof that the Krillian Empire was building illegal weapons near human space. "The Krillians are violating Section 47 of the Peace Accords," Wells said to the Council. Her voice echoed in the massive chamber. "They have constructed 3 weapons platforms within the neutral zone. These platforms are aimed at our colony on New Terra." Chairman Vexthor sat at the center of the highest tier. He was a reptilian being from the saurid species. His kind had been part of the Council for 12,000 years. He looked at Wells with his yellow eyes and made a dismissive gesture with his clawed hand. "The Council has reviewed your claim," Vexthor said. His voice was cold and slow. "The Krillian Empire assures us these are defensive installations only. Your species is young. You see threats where there are none." Morrison clenched his fists. He wanted to shout. He wanted to tell them about the 3 times Krillian ships had fired on human vessels. He wanted to show them the bodies. But he had done all that before. The Council never cared. "Chairman, our sensors clearly show offensive capabilities," Wells continued. "These weapons can destroy a colony shield in seconds. We request immediate inspection and dismantling." Another Council member spoke up. This one was from the Vren Collective. The Vren looked like floating jellyfish with glowing tentacles. "Humanity has been a Council member for only 15 years, the Vren said. "Perhaps you should learn patience. The Krillians have been our allies for 6,000 years. We trust their word." Morrison stepped forward. "And what happens when they attack?" "What will the Council do then?" Vexthor narrowed his eyes. "Admiral, you forget your place. This is a chamber of diplomacy, not military threats. The Council will offer mediation if tensions rise. That is our way." "Mediation takes months," Morrison said. "Those weapons could kill thousands in minutes." "Then perhaps humanity should reconsider its expansion into contested regions," Vexthor replied. "The galaxy is old, Admiral. We have maintained peace through patience and dialogue. Your species wants everything immediately. This is not how civilization works." Wells put a hand on Morrison's arm. She knew he was close to saying something that would make things worse. But Morrison was done being quiet. He was done watching his people be treated like primitive savages who didn't deserve respect. "We're wasting our time," Morrison said quietly to Wells. 3 days later, the Krillians attacked. The colony on New Terra had 47,000 people living there. Farmers, miners, teachers, children. They were building a new life far from Earth. The Krillian weapons platforms opened fire without warning. The colony shields held for exactly 8 minutes. Then the platforms punched through and began destroying everything below. By the time human ships arrived, 12,000 people were dead. The rest were evacuated under fire. Morrison watched from the bridge of his flagship, the EDF Retribution. He watched as rescue ships pulled survivors from burning buildings. He watched as medical teams worked on people who would never walk again. Commander Ryan Beck stood beside him. Beck was Morrison's most trusted officer. He had been with Morrison for 12 years. "Admiral, we have weapons lock on those Krillian platforms," Beck said. "Permission to return fire?" Morrison wanted to say yes. Every part of him screamed to destroy those platforms. But he knew the rules. "Council authorization required," he said bitterly. "Send the request." The council took 6 hours to respond. In those 6 hours, the platforms fired 8 more times at the evacuation ships. 2 ships were destroyed. 340 more people died. Finally, the council's message arrived. Wells read it aloud on the command deck. Her voice shook with rage. The council acknowledges the unfortunate incident at New Terra. We offer our thoughts and prayers. A mediation team will be dispatched within 30 days to discuss reparations and future security arrangements. Morrison said nothing. He looked at the view screen where New Terra burned. 30 days. Thoughts and prayers. This was what humanity's membership in the Galactic Council was worth. 2 hours later, a priority transmission came through from Earth. It was encrypted with the highest security codes. Morrison read it alone in his quarters. The message was short and came directly from President Danny Crawford. Admiral Morrison, humanity is done asking for permission. Prepare your fleet. Operation Sovereign begins at 0600 tomorrow. We're leaving the Council. Morrison read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it and began giving orders. The next day, Morrison stood before the Galactic Council one final time. This time, he didn't bring evidence. He didn't ask for help. He simply stood at the speaker's platform and looked up at the hundreds of species who had ignored humanity's suffering. I stand before this council to deliver a message from the people of Earth and all human colonies, Morrison said. His voice was calm, but hard as steel. Humanity is withdrawing its membership from the Galactic Council effective immediately. We no longer recognize Council authority over human space or human affairs. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Vexthor struck his gavel for silence. Admiral, you cannot simply withdraw. There are procedures, treaties, obligations. We followed your procedures, Morrison said. We honored your treaties. We met every obligation. And when we needed you, you offered us thoughts and prayers while our people died. We're done. This is madness, the Vren delegate said. Without council protection, you will be destroyed. Morrison smiled, but there was no humor in it. We'll take our chances. Humanity is leaving. Anyone who attacks human interests will deal with us directly. No mediation, no committees, no delays, just us. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Wells followed him. Behind them, the council dissolved into chaos as delegates shouted and argued. But Morrison didn't look back. Humanity had wasted 15 years begging for respect. Now they would take it. General Megan Torres walked into the war room deep beneath Earth's military headquarters. Every screen on the walls showed different parts of human space. Ships, colonies, defensive stations. Everything humanity had built in the last century was displayed here, and now, for the first time in human history, it was all under one unified command. Status report, Torres said as she took her seat at the head of the table. Captain Brandon Hayes stood up. He commanded the stealth frigate Shadow Runner. All fleet units are in position, General. We have ships ready in every sector. Response time to any human colony is now under 3 hours. Torres nodded. She looked at the other officers around the table. These were the best military minds humanity had. For years, they had been forced to play by council rules. No more. The President will address the galaxy in 10 minutes, Torres said. Once he's done, everything changes. Is everyone clear on their orders? Yes, General, the officers answered together. Dr. Ashley Kim spoke up from her seat near the wall. She was the lead scientist on humanity's weapons program. General, I need to emphasize something. Our new weapons are extremely powerful. The plasma lance can cut through any known shield. The railguns can hit targets from distances the Council thinks are impossible. But these weapons are also expensive. We can't waste them. We won't waste anything, Torres said, but we also won't hesitate. That's the whole point of the new doctrine. Ambassador Kyle Brennan was also in the room. He used to be a diplomat like Wells, but after New Terra, he had joined the military as an advisor. The Council won't take this well, Brennan said. They'll try sanctions, trade restrictions. They might even try to blockade our space. Torres smiled. Let them try. They've been using our technology for 15 years, our medical advances, our computer systems, our FTL efficiency improvements. They need us more than we need them. On the main screen, President Crawford appeared. He sat at his desk with the Earth flag behind him. The transmission was being sent to every system in the galaxy. Every species would hear this message. People of Earth and all human colonies, Crawford began. Today we begin a new chapter. For 15 years, we have been members of the Galactic Council. We followed their rules. We asked for their help. And when our people died, they did nothing. Crawford paused and looked directly into the camera. From this moment forward, humanity will defend itself. We announce the human doctrine. Any attack on human lives or property will receive immediate military response. We will not ask permission. We will not wait for committees. We will not accept mediation. We will act. The officers in the war room watched silently. This was the moment everything changed. To the species of the galaxy we say this, Crawford continued. We seek peace. We want trade and friendship. But we will never again bow to a council that treats us like children. We will never again watch our people die while waiting for help that never comes. Humanity stands alone now, and we stand ready. The transmission ended. Torres looked around the room. Now we wait and see who tests us first. They didn't have to wait long. 6 hours after Crawford's speech, Krillian ships attacked a human mining outpost in the Rigel sector. It was a small outpost with only 200 people. The Krillians probably thought they could destroy it quickly and make humanity look weak. They were wrong. Captain Hayes was already in the area with Shadowrunner. His ship appeared behind the Krillian vessels before they even knew humans were there. The plasma lance fired once. The lead Krillian ship split in half. The other 2 ships tried to run, but human destroyers dropped out of FTL right in front of them. The battle lasted 11 minutes. All 3 Krillian ships were destroyed. Not a single human died. But humanity wasn't done. Torres gave the order she had been waiting to give for months. Launch Operation Hammer. Across human space, battle groups that had been waiting in stealth positions powered up their weapons. They had targets programmed. Krillian military stations. 3 of them, the ones that had fired on New Terra. The human fleet arrived at all 3 stations simultaneously. The stations had shields and weapons. They were designed to fight off enemy fleets, but they weren't ready for what humanity brought. The railgun platforms fired first. Projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed hit the stations from distances the Krillians thought were safe. The shields flickered and failed. Then the plasma lances cut through the stations like they were made of paper. In 47 minutes, all 3 stations were destroyed. The Krillian Empire lost 12,000 soldiers and officers. It was exactly the same number of humans who died on New Terra. The galaxy went silent with shock. The Council called an emergency session. They demanded humanity stop its aggression. They threatened sanctions. Vexthor made a speech about the importance of following proper procedures. Ambassador Nicole Grant was Earth's new representative. Unlike Wells, Grant had no patience for diplomatic games. She stood before the Council and her response was brief. Humanity recognizes no Council authority. You want to sanction us? Try it. You want to threaten us? Come ahead. But understand this. Every species in this galaxy uses human technology. Your medical bays use our cellular regenerators. Your ships use our FTL improvements. Your computers run on our quantum processors. Cut us off and see what happens to your precious civilization. The threat was clear. Humanity had become the galaxy's innovation engine. Losing access to human technology would cripple hundreds of species. Within a week, 3 smaller species quietly approached human diplomats. They wanted protection. They wanted to leave the Council, but they were afraid of retaliation. Torres met with President Crawford in his office. What do we tell them? Torres asked. Crawford looked out the window at Earth below. Tell them we'll protect them. Tell them humanity keeps its promises. Unlike the Council, the galaxy was fracturing. Some species admired humanity's courage. Others were terrified of what humans would do next. The Council tried to maintain order, but their authority was slipping. And in the shadows, other species began to wonder. If humanity could stand up to the Council, maybe they could too. The old order was crumbling. Humanity had thrown the first stone. Now the avalanche was beginning. Councillor Jaren watched the council chamber descend into chaos and felt something close to satisfaction. Jaren was an insectoid from the hive species. Her kind communicated through both sound and chemical signals. Right now, her scent glands were producing the chemical equivalent of amusement. The council was arguing about what to do with the three species who had asked humanity for protection: the Talvin, the Gorath, and the Minari. All three were small civilizations. They had always done what the council told them. Until now. They cannot simply leave, Vexthor hissed. There are laws, procedures. If we allow this, others will follow. Then perhaps we should ask why they want to leave, Jaren said quietly. The chamber went silent. Everyone looked at her. Jaren rarely spoke in council sessions. When she did, people listened. The hive has been part of this council for 8,000 years, Jaren continued. I have watched species come and go. I have seen how we treat the younger ones, how we dismiss them, how we use them. Perhaps humanity is not the problem. Perhaps we are. Vexthor's eyes narrowed. You defend those who break council law? I defend honesty, Jaren said. Humanity asked for help 23 times. We gave them nothing. Now they help themselves and we call them criminals. This is not justice. Before Vexthor could respond, alarms began blaring. A junior aide rushed into the chamber with a data pad. The aide's face was pale. Chairman, we have reports from the Talvin system. Human warships have taken up defensive positions around their homeworld. The humans say the Talvin are now under Earth's protection. The council erupted again. Delegates shouted in a dozen languages. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for negotiations. The unity that had held the council together for millennia was cracking. Light years away, Commodore Chris Palmer stood on the bridge of his battleship, the Defiant. Around him, a dozen human vessels orbited the green and blue world of Talvin Prime. The Talvin people were humanoid with pale blue skin. They had been council members for 300 years. They had never challenged the council before. Commodore, we're receiving a transmission from the Vren Collective Fleet, his communications officer said. They're demanding we leave Talvin space immediately. Palmer had been expecting this. The Vren Collective was one of the Council's major military powers. They had thousands of ships. They thought their size made them invincible. Open a channel, Palmer said. The view screen flickered to life. A Vren commander appeared, its tentacles glowing with agitation. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council space. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. This isn't Council space anymore, Palmer said calmly. The Talvin people have chosen to leave the council. We're here at their invitation. If you have a problem with that, you're welcome to file a complaint. This is not a matter for complaints, the Vren said. We are authorized to enforce council law. Leave now or be destroyed. Palmer smiled. You're welcome to try. The Vren fleet moved forward, 50 ships against humanity's 12. The numbers looked bad for the humans. But numbers weren't everything. All ships, weapons free, Palmer ordered. Let's show them what we've been building. The human ships activated systems the Vren had never seen before. Plasma lance arrays extended from the hulls. Railgun platforms swiveled into position. And most importantly, the stealth fields dropped. The Vren thought they were facing 12 human ships. They were wrong. 30 more ships had been hiding in stealth mode, waiting for exactly this moment. The Battle of the Outer Reach lasted 2 hours. When it was over, half the Vren fleet was destroyed. The rest retreated in disorder. Not a single human ship was lost. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The Vren Collective had been a major power for 6,000 years. Humanity had beaten them decisively in the first major battle between Council forces and the new human alliance. 2 days later, documents began appearing on the Galactic Network. Secret Council files that showed decades of deliberate policies to keep younger species weak. Trade restrictions that prevented technological development. Military limitations that left them defenseless. Economic rules that kept them poor. Nobody knew where the documents came from. But Jaren smiled when she read them. She had served on the council for a long time. She knew where all the secrets were kept. The revelations sparked outrage. 47 species demanded immediate council reforms. They wanted equal votes. They wanted fair trade. They wanted to be treated like the civilized beings they were. Vexthor and the old council members refused. "The council has maintained peace for 10,000 years, Vexthor declared. "We will not change our ways because a few species are unhappy." That was the moment the council truly broke. The progressive faction formed that day. Led by species like the Hive, they demanded a complete restructuring of galactic government. The traditionalists, led by Vexthor, refused to compromise. The galaxy began choosing sides. Some species joined humanity's growing Free Worlds coalition. Others stayed loyal to the council. Many just tried to stay neutral and safe. Ambassador Kelly Price worked around the clock coordinating with the reformist species. She was young for a diplomat, but she understood something the old council never had. People wanted to be heard. They wanted respect. They wanted justice. "We're not trying to rule the galaxy," Price told the reformist delegates at a secret meeting. "We're trying to fix it. Join us and we'll build something better together." Back on Earth, General Torres reviewed battle reports with Admiral Morrison. The old admiral had come out of his brief retirement. Things were moving too fast to stay on the sidelines. "The council is gathering forces," Torres said. "Intelligence suggests they're planning a major operation. They want to make an example of someone." Morrison studied the star maps. "Who's the target?" "We don't know yet. Could be the Talvin. Could be us." Morrison nodded slowly. "Tell our fleet commanders to stay ready. The council is backed into a corner. Cornered animals are the most dangerous." He was right. 3 days later, the council made its move. A massive fleet began forming in neutral space. Ships from a dozen traditionalist species. All of them loyal to Vexthor. All of them angry at humanity for disrupting the old order. The target of the fleet became clear quickly. They were heading for Earth. The council had decided to end this problem at its source. They would crush humanity and show the galaxy what happened to species who challenged the old ways. But the council had made a mistake. They had assumed this was just about humanity. They were wrong. This was about every species that had ever been dismissed, ignored, or suppressed. And those species were done being quiet. Vice Admiral Scott Henderson watched the tactical display and counted enemy ships. 300, maybe more. The council had sent everything they had. Every loyal species, every battle group that still followed Vexthor's orders. They were all heading for Earth. "Time to arrival?" Henderson asked. 72 hours, his tactical officer replied. "They're not trying to hide. They want us to see them coming." Henderson understood the psychology. The council wanted humanity to feel fear. They wanted humans to realize how small they were compared to the might of galactic civilization. They wanted Earth to surrender before the battle even started. They would be disappointed. "Send word to Admiral Morrison," Henderson said. "Tell him the party guests are on their way." Across human space, fleets began moving. Every ship humanity had, every station, every defensive platform, everything was converging on Earth. This would be humanity's stand. Win or lose, it would be here. But humanity wasn't alone anymore. Senator Lisa Monroe stood in the communications center on Luna and coordinated with the Free Worlds Coalition. 15 species had joined humanity's alliance. Most of them were small. Their fleets weren't large, but they were coming anyway. "The Talvin are sending 30 ships," Monroe's aide reported. "The Gorath are sending 20. The Minari have only 12 ships, but they're coming too." Monroe felt emotion tightening her throat. These species were risking everything. If humanity lost, the council would punish them harshly, but they were coming anyway because they believed in what humanity was fighting for. "Make sure they know how grateful we are," Monroe said, "and make sure they coordinate with Admiral Morrison. We can't afford friendly fire in the chaos ahead." Far from Earth, Commander Tyler Cross led his Special Operations team through the corridors of a Council weapons depot. The depot was supposed to be secret, located in deep space, protected by shields and automated defenses. But humanity had learned the location months ago. While the Council prepared its grand fleet, Cross and his team were doing what humans did best. They were improvising. "Charges set," his demolitions expert whispered over the comm. "We've got enough explosives here to turn this place into a new star." "Belay that," Cross said. "We're not destroying it, we're stealing it." His team looked at him in surprise, but Cross was already working on the control panel. "This depot has enough munitions to supply a fleet for a year. Missiles, torpedoes, energy cells. The Council's fleet is going to need resupply after they attack Earth. We're making sure they don't get it." 20 minutes later, 3 human cargo ships dropped out of FTL and began loading everything in the depot. By the time Council forces realized what was happening, Cross and his team were long gone with enough weapons to fight a war for months. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in the war room and addressed his fleet commanders via hologram. Faces from dozens of ships appeared around him. Some were veterans who had served for decades. Others were young captains promoted quickly as humanity expanded its fleet. "The Council is sending everything they have," Morrison said. "They think we'll break. They think we'll run. They're wrong." He pulled up a tactical display of the Sol system. "We've spent the last month turning this system into a fortress. Every asteroid has weapons. Every planet has defenses. The moon has railgun batteries that can hit targets past Mars. If they want Earth, they'll have to take it from us." Captain Rebecca Lane spoke up. She was a fighter pilot, one of the best. "Admiral, my squadron is ready. Just give us the word." Morrison nodded. "You'll get it soon enough, Captain. But remember, this isn't just about killing enemy ships. This is about showing the galaxy who we are. When this battle is over, every species needs to understand that humanity doesn't quit." The Council fleet arrived exactly on schedule. They dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. It was meant to be impressive. It was meant to show the discipline and power of galactic civilization. Admiral Morrison watched them on the tactical display. "Impressive," he muttered. "Shame we're about to ruin their day." Chairman Vex Thor broadcast a message to Earth. His reptilian face filled every screen on the planet. "Humanity has violated Council law. You have attacked Council forces. You have harbored fugitive species. You have spread chaos throughout civilized space. Surrender now and face judgment. Resist and be destroyed." President Crawford's response was simple. "Come and try." The battle for Earth began with missiles. Thousands of them launched from both sides. The space between the fleets lit up with explosions and defensive fire. Human point defense systems worked over time, destroying incoming missiles before they could reach the inner planets. But some missiles got through. Mars took 3 hits on its mining colonies. The moon's southern sector was damaged. 2 orbital stations around Earth were destroyed before the shields could adapt. Then the human weapons fired back. The railgun platforms on the moon opened up. Solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds crossed the distance to the Council fleet in seconds. Ships exploded as the projectiles punched clean through their hulls. The plasma lances fired next. Designed for close combat, they had to wait until the enemy fleet advanced. But when they did, the effect was devastating. Council ships that had shields strong enough to withstand conventional weapons had no answer for plasma cutting through their hulls like they were nothing. The battle raged for hours. Captain Lane led her fighter squadron through the chaos, hitting Council ships where their shields were weakest. Commander Tyler Cross's Special Forces boarded a Council command ship and destroyed its bridge, throwing an entire section of the enemy fleet into confusion. Vice Admiral Henderson coordinated the human fleet with precision. He had studied every major space battle in recorded history. He knew when to advance and when to fall back. He knew how to use Earth's orbital defenses to maximum effect. But the Council fleet kept coming. For every ship humanity destroyed, 2 more advanced. The numbers were simply too great. Slowly, inevitably, human forces began falling back toward Earth's inner defenses. Morrison watched from the command center. They were losing. Not quickly, but definitely. The math was simple. Humanity didn't have enough ships to win a battle of attrition. Then something appeared on the tactical display. New signatures dropping out of FTL, dozens of them. Henderson looked at the readouts and smiled. Admiral, we have reinforcements arriving. IFF signals show Talvin ships, Goreth vessels, Minari frigates. And, sir, there are more. Species we didn't even know were coming. Morrison leaned forward and looked at the display. The Free Worlds Coalition had arrived. And they had brought more than just the original 15 species. Others had joined them. Species who were tired of council oppression. Species who believed that humanity's fight was their fight too. The tactical situation changed instantly. The Council fleet, which had been pressing hard against human defenses, suddenly found itself attacked from multiple angles. Ships that had never worked together before coordinated through human command networks, fighting as one unified force. In the chaos, Commander Cross led a boarding team onto the Council flagship. They fought through corridors filled with enemy soldiers. They breached the command deck. And there, sitting in his command chair, was Chairman Vexthor himself. Cross pointed his weapon at the chairman. "It's over. Order your fleet to stand down." Vexthor looked at him with cold hatred. "You have destroyed everything. 10,000 years of peace." "You mean 10,000 years of oppression," Cross replied. "Now make the call." The Battle of Earth ended not with a final explosion, but with a transmission. Chairman Vexthor, defeated and captured, ordered his fleet to cease fire. Some ships obeyed immediately. Others, too proud or too angry to accept defeat, tried to fight on. They were destroyed quickly by the combined forces of humanity and the Free Worlds Coalition. Fleet Admiral Matt Douglas stood on the bridge of the EDF Victory and watched the last Council ships retreat. Douglas had commanded Earth's defense fleets for 20 years. He had prepared for many scenarios: alien invasion, pirate raids, natural disasters. But he had never imagined this: a galaxy-wide civil war with Earth at the center. "Casualty reports," Douglas said quietly. His aide read from a data pad. 47 human ships destroyed, 16 stations damaged beyond repair. Colony casualties on Mars and Luna total around 8,000. Fleet personnel losses are still being counted, but estimated at 35,000. Douglas closed his eyes. 35,000 people. Each one was someone's son or daughter, someone's parent or friend. The price of freedom was always paid in blood. "And the Council fleet?" he asked. "Over 200 ships destroyed. Their losses are estimated at 500,000. The Free Worlds Coalition lost approximately 60 ships and 20,000 personnel." The cost was staggering, but it was over. The Council's military power was broken. Their authority was shattered. What came next would determine if those deaths meant anything. President Danny Crawford arrived at the Sanctum Prime station 3 days after the battle. The station orbited a neutral world where the old council had met for thousands of years. Now it would host something new. Crawford walked through corridors filled with delegates from hundreds of species. Some were from the Free Worlds Coalition. Others were former council members who had switched sides during the battle. A few were even from traditionalist species who now wanted to negotiate. Councillor Jaren met Crawford at the entrance to the main chamber. The insectoid diplomat's chemical signals showed approval. "President Crawford, we are grateful you agreed to come. The galaxy needs leadership in this moment." Crawford shook his head. "The galaxy needs justice, not leadership. That's why we're here." Inside the chamber, the atmosphere was tense. This was the first meeting of what everyone was calling the Transition Council. Its purpose was to create something to replace the old Galactic Council. Something fair. Something that gave every species an equal voice. Admiral Morrison was there too. He stood near the back, watching. He had been offered a position at the negotiating table, but refused. "I'm a soldier," he had told Crawford. "My job was to break the old system. Building the new one is yours." Ambassador Lauren Wells, however, was very much involved. She had been chosen as the coordinator for the new government. It was ironic, Morrison thought. Wells had spent years trying to make the old council listen. Now, she would help build a better one. "We need to establish some basic principles," Wells said, addressing the assembled delegates. "First, every species gets one vote, no exceptions, no special status for older civilizations." Some delegates from the ancient species looked uncomfortable. They were used to having more influence. But nobody argued. The Battle of Earth had made it clear what happened to those who tried to maintain the old hierarchies. "Second," Wells continued, "no species can interfere in another species' internal affairs without clear evidence of genocide or slavery. The old council used humanitarian concerns as an excuse to control younger species. That ends now." More nods of agreement. The leaked documents had shown how the council had manipulated humanitarian crises to expand their power. Third, military force is only authorized by a 2/3 vote of the full assembly, no more allowing a few powerful species to start wars. This generated some debate. Several species argued that 2/3 was too high a threshold. What if quick action was needed? Wells listened patiently and then responded. "If the threat is real, 2/3 of us will agree. If it's not, then we have no business going to war. The old council went to war whenever it suited the powerful members. We're not repeating that mistake." The negotiations continued for 2 weeks. Dozens of issues needed to be resolved: trade agreements, territorial disputes, war reparations, technology sharing. Every species had concerns. Through it all, humanity maintained a consistent position. They didn't want to lead, they didn't want special privileges. They just wanted fairness. On the 15th day, Chairman Vexthor was brought before the assembly. He was charged with war crimes for ordering attacks on civilian targets during the Battle of Earth. The trial was brief. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on a secure facility. As guards led him away, Vexthor looked at the humans in the room. "You have destroyed a civilization that lasted 10,000 years. What you build will not last 10. Morrison met his gaze. "Then we'll build it again. That's what humans do. We keep trying." 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the new Galactic Assembly held its first official session. The chamber looked similar to the old council's meeting place, but the atmosphere was completely different. Delegates sat in alphabetical order by species name, not by age or power. Each species had one vote, clearly displayed for all to see. Lauren Wells stood at the center podium. She had been elected Secretary General by unanimous vote. It was a position without real power. The assembly made decisions collectively, but someone needed to organize meetings and keep records. Wells had agreed to serve for a 5-year term. "Representatives of the galaxy," Wells said, "we stand at a new beginning. The old council ruled through force and fear. We will govern through consent and cooperation. What we build here will not be perfect. There will be disagreements. There will be failures. But we will face them together as equals." She raised a ceremonial gavel. "I hereby call the first session of the new Galactic Assembly to order." The sound of the gavel echoed through the chamber. Delegates from 847 species rose to their feet. Some cheered, some wept. All of them understood they were witnessing history. Admiral Morrison watched from the observation gallery above. He had retired for the second time after the battle. This time it was permanent. He had done his part. He had broken the old system when diplomacy failed. Now others could build something better. Beside him, General Torres stood at attention. She was still on active duty, commanding humanity's defense forces. "Think it'll work?" she asked quietly. Morrison thought about the question. He thought about the thousands who had died. He thought about the species who had risked everything to join humanity's fight. He thought about the young pilots and soldiers who had faced impossible odds and won. "I think it has a chance," Morrison said finally. "That's more than we had before." Far below, the assembly began its work. The first motion was proposed by the Talvin delegate, a memorial to honor all those who died fighting for galactic freedom. It passed unanimously. The second motion came from the Hive representative, Councillor Jaren. She proposed that the date of the Battle of Earth be recognized as Liberation Day across the galaxy, a day to remember that freedom is never free. That also passed unanimously. The third motion was from humanity itself. Senator Monroe proposed a new law. No species could be denied membership in the Assembly for any reason. No species could be expelled without proof of genocide or invasion. The galaxy would be open to all. The vote was called. One by one, species voted yes. The motion passed with only 3 abstentions. Morrison smiled. It wasn't perfect. The galaxy still had problems, old hatreds, new conflicts, species that would test the Assembly's limits. But for the first time in galactic history, every species had a voice, every civilization had a vote. The strong could not simply dominate the weak. Humanity had abandoned diplomacy when the old system failed them. They had thrown the galaxy into chaos. But from that chaos, something better had emerged. As Morrison left the station and headed home to Earth, he thought about the future. Humanity would still face challenges. There would still be conflicts. But humans would face them as equals, not as children begging for scraps from their elders. And if the galaxy ever forgot the lessons of this war, humanity would be ready to remind them. Not with words this time. Words had failed once. But with the same determination and courage that had won them freedom. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had changed it. For better or worse, nothing would ever be the same.